tone of voice and how like
that's where the great actors have it.
Yeah, calm and casual and how he talks, and it's just really, it's impressive for him as an actor, and watching him as a character, it's very unsettling, as we talked about. Do we want to get into spoilers?
Yeah,
now?
I think we should get into spoilers.
Yeah, so just a quick recommendation. If you are interested in seeing this movie, I'd say absolutely go for it. We'll give our final scores at the end of the review, but this is a movie I would definitely say go for it. Alright, so that sound indicates spoilers. Now, this movie, as Mike alluded to, has many shocking twists and turns, stuff that you won't expect, and I want to get into first with the power cuts. The power cuts are very
unsettling,
a very important part of the movie because it allows Caleb to talk to Ava, the AI,
without
privately.
Nathan's eye.
Yeah, exactly. And so the first power cut was just a realization that they exist. He was just in his room when it happened. The second power cut is when he is interacting with Ava, and Ava, just very unsettling, very eerie, says, "Do not trust Nathan. Don't believe a word he says." The power comes back on, and she transitions back into normal conversation as if nothing happened. As a viewer, I remember when the first time I saw this movie, that was the moment that hooked me. At first, he wins a contest, he's flying out in the helicopter, and you realize Oscar Isaac as Nathan Bateman, he's very strange, but this was the line that really grasped my attention. Mike?
Yeah, the power cuts in general was just it was the good, how they were set up is they allowed for something new to be in each scene. So once the movie was starting, okay, we need to add something, power cut. And I think that's a genius way to start adding more plot to your movie.
Yeah.
And they were all interesting. The lighting was really cool. I like that. Everything was red. Everything stops.
Yeah.
And you're able to talk. And it switches right back on, as you said, when she starts talking about the conversation they were having before the power cut. Yet again, her performance was awesome, which just shows how her performance was she was able to, we're talking about how terrible he is. Oh, now we're switching back off.
Right.
So I really like that.
I wanted also to talk about, what scene was it? When Nathan asks about the power cut, because he knows they happen. He says, it's just some glitch that programmers made. What was it?
He's he talks about if they come back, I'll have to kill them or something like that. I'm like, and he doesn't even say it was a joke. He might have done that.
Right.
You do not know.
Yeah, and so Nathan asks about the power cut, and this was a scene where, as a movie viewer, sometimes I just pick up on the little things just because I've kind of critique them enough. And the music in this scene, it's very subtle. It's not in your face as some soundtracks are, which not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes music drives a scene. This scene is basically quiet with just Nathan and Caleb talking. He asks about the power cut, and the music is just very eerie, and it starts off quiet, and it just crescendos up until Caleb reveals nothing happened, and then he goes what, did Ava just shut off or something? And then once Nathan decides, it probably was nothing, the music just cuts out. And I thought that was really interesting, an interesting technique that the director used, because it really grasped my attention in the scene, and it really brought a new layer onto what was actually being presented.
Yeah, the suspense in this movie is excellent. I feel like it takes some I wouldn't want to say Hitchcocky and suspense, because that's completely different. But it takes that these, because Hitchcock's movies are very character based,
right? And
this movie's extremely character based with the only 3 actors, and the way they're able to constantly keep it interesting is extremely amazing, because you can only be suspenseful so much until people are okay, what's gonna happen? But since it's spoilers now, the twists, they constantly change the whole movie.
Absolutely.
When I'm gonna talk about it now. When Nathan tells Caleb, "You're not here because you won some contest. You're here because you're a great coder, and I knew you were going to be able to talk to Ava in the way I need you to properly understand this technology." And then later in the movie, when it's revealed again, another twist that Nathan didn't choose Caleb for as a coder. He just chose him because he was some lonely guy, no parents, and he was easy to manipulate. Because the real purpose of this test wasn't to see if Ava was a good AI. It was to see if she was believable enough to trick someone into letting her out, making her even better than what Nathan was originally trying to test.
Yeah, and Caleb suspects this early on when he says, "Are you programming her to flirt with me? Are you giving her emotions to help sway me into having her pass this test. And I believe Nathan does deny it at first.
He's like, no.
He's like, how would I do that?
He was talking, oh, you wanna screw her or something like that?
Yeah, but one thing I love about Nathan, as he is the villain of this movie, essentially.
He's the main antagonist.
Yeah. As a villain, he's so deliberate in everything he does. The scene where Caleb is planning himself and Ava's escape and how they're going to turn off the power at 10 a.m. And then they're going to get Nathan drunk so that he can't do anything. And then
because he's an alcoholic throughout the movie.
Yeah, but I will touch on that soon. When the next morning, when Caleb is almost trying to... he feels like he's in the driver's seat now, because for the whole movie, he's just going along.
He's constantly confused. He doesn't know what's
he's going along with what Nathan does because he's kind of afraid. Once it's the scene when he takes Nathan's pass card and
when he's really drunk.
Yeah, and then he comes back and pretends to pick it up, and he gives him just like this look of just disgust, like you're supposed to be the inventor of Google. Essentially, it's Blue Book in the movie, but it's essentially Google, and he's just so disgusted with how unprofessional or how he spends his life in general. And then he feels like he's in the driver's seat, and now he has this confidence, and he's going into this idea where he's going to get him drunk. And when Nathan denies the drink, and he's like, oh, after last night, no way, I'm drinking again.
Yeah, he's like, mineral water for me.
Yeah, and it's very eerie, and you realize, no, the villain has the upper hand still.
He always has
somehow.
The upper hand.
That's one thing about what I really like about movies like this, when the villain is the smartest person in the room. And then he reveals to Caleb, when they go on the computer, and they show that he had a recording when the power cut out. And so
never showed the audio.
Yeah, and so this idea of like, how do people act when God isn't watching, or just people?
That's a good
Yeah, he refers to him
as like a joke. Oh, you're God.
Yeah,
like,
and then
I am God.
Yeah, and so Nathan does mention it in the movie. Like, I want to know how she interacts when the power cuts out, because I want to know what she acts like when quote unquote God isn't watching.
Yeah,
and the fact that no, God still is watching. It's very eerie, and when Nathan doesn't even react that harshly to it. He just shows him. He shows him, and he just wants the reaction. And it even gets to the point where Caleb just says, like, "Oh, turn it off. I can't listen to it anymore." And so it's just this idea of like he wants him and he's encouraging him, and then he just punches him at the end.
Caleb reveals that he upperhanded Nathan and already changed everything, and it's gonna happen regardless. And that's when he's like, oh, well, I got nothing. Then he punches him out, and then sees that Ava's walking around and starts to come at her.
And so, before we get into the ending of the movie, I just wanted to touch on the dancing scene.
The dancing scene.
I thought that was just...
There's always a dancing scene.
Yeah, but it seems it was one of those moments where it was supposed to be lighthearted, but it added to how, like, demented Nathan is as a character.
Not demented, but just, like, sad.
Just, like, sad, but also just, like... He doesn't view anything he's doing as wrong, and he's almost having fun with it.
Because during the scene, Caleb still believes that the Japanese woman serving Nathan is a human.
Yeah.
And she's like, she strips, like, oh, you want, like, she tries to unbutton her shirt.
Yeah.
And Caleb's like, no, don't do that. And then they start dancing, like she's doing this dance perfectly, like she's like a robot, and it turns out she's a robot. She's one of his androids all along.
Yeah. The most memorable quote I took away from the movie was when Nathan says, "Can consciousness exist without interaction?" I just thought that was a very powerful quote, and it's almost as if who we are is defined by our relationships. And I wouldn't necessarily compare it to the Tears in the Rain quote from Blade Runner, but I thought it was a very powerful quote and something that really encaptures what the movie is all about, just in about 5 words. Want to just touch on the ending real quick, and then I want to get into the title, and then we'll finish up.
Yep.
All right, so the ending with Ava, with the help of Kyoko. Right? Kills, well, not confirmed, but he's bleeding out on the floor. Yeah. He's basically dead.
The way she, like...
Kills Nathan.
But, like, the way he does it, like, the music doesn't swell up, like, dude. Right. It's, like, very calm.
It's very like calm. Calming... Like, the knife just slides right in, like, basically because she is a robot. And... so this scene when Ava leaves, she leaves through the elevator. Caleb is banging on the glass, and he's locked and he can't get out, but you can't hear a word he's saying. All you can hear is the music. And then Ava gets in the elevator,
leaves him,
looks straight ahead, and at the last second before the door closes, looks at him, but you can't see her head turn back, and so it's almost as if she's getting one last glimpse of what her previous life, I put that in quotations, was until she goes into the real world, because now she is in the real world.
She has this. She took the fake skin off that other robot, dressed up, and left.
So
her entire relationship with Caleb was false.
Right.
Like, even like as Nathan said, I told her to like you.
Right.
Like, Caleb's still like, come on, you like me, right? No.
Right. Yeah, and so this idea that a machine in the real world, don't get me wrong, I do not want a sequel. I think this is a perfect standalone movie just to not be touched for a long time. Maybe it does end up like a Blade Runner where it becomes a cult film and years later it gets the justice it deserves with a sequel, but I don't want a sequel right now. I love it as a standalone film, just with that idea of up in the air of what happens when she's in the real world. Now, before we close this review on Ex Machina, I just want to get into the title. I thought the title was very interesting because a lot of us know the term Deus Ex Machina?
Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina. And it means God from the machine. So this idea that Ava is like a god coming from technology, from the machine, but the director elects to not include Deus. So is it kind of insinuating that her real nature, what Ava is kind of unknown?
Yeah.
They don't know.
Her AI is so perfect that even though she has a robot shell, she is so close to human, which is a theme in Blade Runner.
Right, yeah,
which
absolutely.
I love how these two movies, like, they really go good together.
Yeah.
Watching them close together, like, helps, I think.
Yeah, and so with Blade Runner, where they're obsessed with getting more life, Ava seems, replicants, she wants life, but not necessarily longer life. She wants to perfect the life she has, get as realistic,
outside, look outside.
Yeah, as realistic and as human-like as possible. That is...
Yeah, those complement each other quite well, actually.
Absolutely. So I'm very glad that we ended up reviewing this so close to Blade Runner, because it gives me a new excitement when I go to see 2049, obviously, and it's just a fantastic movie overall.
Yeah.
Just to close out, our score out of 10... I'm going to go 9.7. I really love this movie. It seems like a high score, but it has a perfect runtime. It never drags on. And while some people may not be encaptured the whole time, the entire time I still found that I was within the movie and it was really getting under my skin. So even when there wasn't a really intense scene going on, I was remembering what had been presented earlier, and it really got under my skin. Yeah. So out of 10, I'm going to go 9.7. Mike, what's your score?
I'm going to, I guess, 10 out of 10.
Really?
Maybe not. Maybe I'll do like a 9 point something.
Yeah. I don't want to go 10 because once you go 10, you can never top it.
You can never top 10.
Right.
Because maybe the one thing I thought was kind of weird is when she got on the helicopter and just left. Like, there's no question there, but I guess she probably was able to talk to the helicopter guy into it.
Right.
But it's an extremely good movie. And it's... Because, like, sci-fi, as I said before, is like there's two sects of like sci-fi. You have the action sci-fi and the drama sci-fi. And this is an amazing example.
It's a psychological sci-fi.
As an amazing example of that type of sci-fi.
Yeah,
and I really want more movies like this. Like, it's like an experience to watch this, and you take something from it. Like, not all movies can you take something from.
For sure. All right, so that's going to conclude our review of Ex Machina. Now, real quick, before we conclude today's podcast, my actor of the week is Domhnall Gleeson. For his performance in Ex Machina, and you can also go out and see him in American Made with Tom Cruise. He's actually in that movie. Mike, what's your actor of the week?
My actor of the week is Oscar Isaac. As again, his performance was terrifying and phenomenal, and you can see him in Force Awakens coming out real soon.
Not Force Awakens, Last Jedi.
Oh, sorry, Last Jedi.
Yeah,
you can see him in Force Awakens.
Yeah, you still can.
Last Jedi is coming out in December.
Yeah, and my what to see this week, I'm not going to list any other movies other than Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, go see
this is what I called earlier a priority movie. This should be the only movie you consider going to the theater for. All right, so that's going to wrap up today's podcast. I've been your host, Liam Crowley. You can find me on Twitter at LiamCrowley714. Mike?
And Mike Gillis. You can find me on Twitter at MikeGillis25.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we do have a Twitter for the podcast at Real Talk Pod. That is real, R-E-E-L, as it is spelled on the podcast. And we would love for you to tweet your questions.
Yeah, tweet us questions,
DM us, because we really want to start to gain an audience.
Yeah, so we've got a community.
Yeah, absolutely. If you would like, go on iTunes. You can find us on iTunes. Sometimes it doesn't work when you search the podcast title, but if you just search my name, Liam Crowley, it should come up. If you leave us a 5-star review.
And subscribe.
Subscribe, obviously. We will shout you out on the review of the week. We're trying to start a segment like that. But yeah, rate, subscribe, leave a review, tweet us your questions. And
see you guys next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.